here at ACO Radio, American Communications Online, or any affiliated stations or websites are not responsible for what guest hosts or call-ins may say. All programming is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only.
Hello, world. Welcome aboard, all you ground troops spinning around smartly on the planet. We are American Communications Online, ACO Radio, and my dog barking great. You guys know I've got Coco, my sidekick here. And I'm very excited today to interview someone from Canada, making us international. But stand by, Shane, and we can hear everything you do, like you heard my dog. So we'll ask you to be very still, everybody, while you're talking online. But let me introduce you. Mr. R.T. Knight, you're live and on the air. You're in Georgia, USA. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Are you on mute? Oh, there he is. Ah, all right, we've got to get everything going here, all these tests. All right. Tell us a little bit about you, R.T. Knight. So let me put our guest on mute. So I'm going to put Shane on mute, and then let me put Melinda D'Amico on mute. Now, you've got the floor. Go ahead. Richard, introduce yourself so Shane will know in the listening audience who you are today.
Well, I'm from Santa Monica, California, though I live currently in Georgia. I've been in Georgia for about 30 years. I'm very well educated. I have had numerous life experiences of all kinds, natures, and familiarities in all kinds of aspects and so forth. I have doctorates in theology, divinity, spiritual and religious science, and metaphysics. I am a very spiritual-oriented individual. I have had numerous paranormal experiences. I've had near-death experiences. I was actually dead a couple of times and came back. And so my perspective on life is very open-minded in regards to our connection to Source. I have written articles for magazines. I have written articles for various different organizations and so forth. And fortunately, I'm in the process of becoming a published author in the near future. So that's basically the down low about me.
Thank you, Richard. That was very good. Let Melinda of New Jersey, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I would like to. My name is Melinda T. D'Amico, and I am a storyteller and gifted person that can see things before they happen. And I've been gifted with that skill for over 30 years, my whole life, and now I'm advising people on things that come straight up to me, and I just tell them like it is. And some are easy to tell, some are not, but that's just reality of this gift and plethora of life that you have. So I'm here.
Thank you.
With Ms. Teresa J. Morris and Mr. Shane Flannigan.
Very good. All right. Yes, I'm Teresa J. Morris of Gulf Breeze, Florida, USA. And we're going to talk to Shane Flannigan of Canada. And I'm going to bring him on here to say hi to our co-host. But then we'll get started on his story. But let me read you this real quick, because we've got a story ourselves to tell with ACO Press Club here in America. But we have gone international, and it's quite a big task after 9 years on the radio to help authors and life coaches and practitioners. But we found someone that fits right in with our ACO Press Club. Shane Flannigan will join us from Canada. He's a former law enforcement officer, and he's prior government, military, security, first responder support. He's a supporter of arts and sciences. I've even seen a little tattoo on his hand of Santa Claus, which, if you can see his pictures here on Blog Talk Radio, you'll see he's got a white beard, so we'll ask him if he still has that. Now, I've learning about Shane as you do. He's a friend of mine on LinkedIn as an entrepreneur, author, and he's an international author, business and life coach, and has a shamanic practitioner. I guess we'll find out if he does rituals or whatever, but The curious thing about his story is we're going to learn is he's a 20-year survivor of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So as a life coach, I'm sure he helps many in that category. That's related to debilitating anxieties, all which he suffered from as a result of a violent traumatic incident that I'm sure we'll hear about that occurred. Now, let me see here. His wife is, I hope I'm saying this right, but he can, I don't know if it's Michael Lynn or Michelle Lynn, but I'll ask him to help me in a moment with that. So he speaks about personalities and his journey and his coping skills, which I'd like to know more about because he's going to share his dark shadow days. As you know, in our esoteric metaphysical world, we all talk about our shadow, and he calls it with the invisible journey. So maybe he has a twist on words that we're not accustomed to hearing, but this will be fun. And we all sound different. You can tell Richard's from California, but he speaks with his grandmother's Irish accent. And Melinda is from New Jersey, but she actually is from New York most of her life, so she has a Bronx accent. And I'm from the South. I lived all over the world, but the military put me in Kentucky after 20 years, and I married, so I have developed around my family a Southern accent, although I went to University of Alabama, and my children were raised in Birmingham. But I am an author, and you guys know I've been here 9 years, and I'm a psychic medium as well. And my girlfriends that do events with me are all about me starting to come out. So they wanted me to do more psychic medium life coaching work. So we're going to try this together. But I don't know how long Melinda or Richard's going to be able to stay. But let's get Shane on here. This is going to be live and recorded, folks, for Shane Flannigan. Now, you're live and on the air and have the floor, Shane. I'd like you first just to talk for a moment, just to say hi to Richard and Melinda. I guess Richard first, get them off mute. Richard, do you want to say hi to Shane?
Hi, Shane. How goes it?
Hi, Richard. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
Thank you very
well
much.
You doing well this evening?
Yes, I certainly am. It's a beautiful, hot August evening here in Canada, and I've had an excellent day today. So it's really been I've really been feeling at my best.
That's fantastic.
Wow. And
Thank
Melinda,
you.
would you like to say hi to get going with Shane so you guys can...
Hi, Shane. How are you? Good evening, sir.
Well, good evening, Melinda, and what a
It's
pleasure it is to talk to you.
This evening.
Thank you so much for having me.
I look forward to the chat and the learning more about you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. Well, Shane, I've got your readout here, and it looks like you're going to have to tell us, if you don't mind. Start with, were you born in Niagara? I really like to do a little research here in the beginning of an interview to get everybody get a good feel for you, because we all weren't born in the same place, obviously, from our accents. But I want to know if you were born there and your accent, it will be more of a Northeastern or Canadian. So tell us about where you were born and where you grew up and went to school, if you don't mind.
Yes, no problem. And you can hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Richard, let me ask Richard if I need to turn you up any. Richard, is
I can hear you.
Fine? Okay.
Can you hear me, Teresa?
Richard,
I'm hearing Shane and Melinda both very well.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right. Then we'll go forward. All right.
That's great. Certainly. I was born and raised in what we like to call the Niagara region, where Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada is. And I'm about 15 minutes. I grew up outside of Niagara Falls in a little city called St. Catharines. But nobody knows where that is, so I just naturally tell them I'm from Niagara Falls. And of course, who doesn't know where that is? So everybody, I know where that is. Okay. So I grew up here, and I moved away to another area of our province for some time. And it was the first time I had went away from my hometown. And my wife Michelin, which I gotta commend you, Teresa. You said Michelin, and that's the correct way to say her name. Not many people get that.
Well, I said it two ways. I wasn't sure. But it's not spelled like Michelin tire, but that's what probably in America we would think of as Michelin tire, but it's spelled a little different. But, yeah, thank you. Is she with you today?
She's off looking after the kids. Yes, she is. She's in the house, but off looking after the kids today. And it was really. It's really. I love the area that I'm in Canada here, right along the Niagara Falls, New York, Buffalo border, at the Peace Bridge, and so I enjoy crossing over the border and really enjoy your country of the United States of America. I love it. I love going there. And Canada, especially parts of Maine where I've traveled to, and that really remind me of parts of Canada, Eastern Canada. And so I went to school here up until the grade 12 in high school, and I didn't go any farther. Like, I didn't move on to university, nor did I move on to college, because I grew up with a really strong learning disability, which really they were just finding out about as I was a kid. They didn't even have a name. They were just developing a name for my learning disability, which is quite common today, and it's dyslexia. And so they couldn't find a name for it, but they knew there was something. I was struggling in school quite a bit, as I did right through to my grade 12 years. And so I was really left. You know, my dream, I remember saying to my mother is, Mom, I want to be a police officer. And she said, well, Shane, that probably is never going to happen because it requires you to have a lot of mathematics and education behind you. So why don't you just look for something else that's easier? And I had my heart set on being a police officer. So although she tried to not hurt my feelings and tried to maybe make life a little easier on me, I was determined. And I get that from my mother, being so determined. and I was determined to educate myself through high school in law so that I could fulfill my dream. So that's basically it as far as where I grew up and what growing up looked like for me. Okay.
Well, you've gone on to be a well-known speaker around your area. I lived in Rochester, New York for a while. As a matter of fact, I saw my first UFO split and have little things come out of it up there. So I've always been interested in that area of the country. And Richard Dolan lived up there, a well-known historian and speaker. So Shades of Broken, tell us a little about how you got into this Shades of Broken with your website, and I've seen your photos of speaking. I haven't seen your a YouTube. I don't know if you have a YouTube out there.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, tell us about how you got all into this, I guess, life coaching and becoming a well-known speaker. Was it due to your PTSD or your injury with law enforcement or what? Before you got into the shamanic practitioner?
I'll take us back to when I got on the police department, and I had envisioned a certain experience, and it was helping people. Being on the police department, I thought, was my way to serve. And yet, really,